"Don't you want to try the coffee I made especially for you, honey?" my husband James asked, wearing an odd smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. We were seated at my sister-in-law Nina's elegant dining table in her Nashville home, gathered for a monthly family brunch. The coffee cup in front of me had a strange, almost metallic smell that made my stomach turn. My name is Christina, and at 29, I never imagined I'd be questioning whether my own husband was trying to poison me. But after 3 years of marriage and countless incidents of accidental food poisoning, I had learned to be cautious, especially around Nina. She had a way of orchestrating situations that left me sick or humiliated, always with the same innocent smile James was wearing now. "How thoughtful of you," I replied, forcing a smile while my mind raced. The aroma wafting from the cup was unlike any coffee I'd ever smelled. It reminded me of the time last month when I ended up in urgent care after drinking tea at Nina's house. The doctors couldn't explain my symptoms, and Nina had insisted she made the tea exactly the same way she made her own. Nina watched me intently from across the table, absently stirring her untouched coffee. "James has become quite the barista lately," she said with a smirk. "He's been practicing different brewing methods just for you." The way she emphasized "for you" sent chills down my spine. I had noticed James spending more time at Nina's house lately, claiming they were planning a surprise for our upcoming anniversary. But something felt off. The whispered conversations that stopped when I entered the room, the strange texts I'd glimpsed on his phone, and now this coffee with its peculiar scent. I lifted the cup, pretending to take a sip while studying their expressions. James and Nina exchanged a quick glance that confirmed my suspicions. Making a show of checking my phone, I stood up abruptly. "Oh, would you look at that? I need to make a quick call for work." "Nina, would you mind if I use your study?" As I walked past Nina's place setting, I deliberately stumbled, quickly switching our coffee cups in the confusion. "I'm so sorry," I exclaimed, steadying myself. "I'm such a klutz." Nina waved off my apology with a tight smile. "Just try not to break anything in the study." I nodded and hurried away, my heart pounding. From the study doorway, I watched as Nina lifted the coffee cup to her lips. My stomach clenched with anxiety. Part of me wanted to stop her, to warn her, but I needed to know the truth. I had spent too many nights in emergency rooms, too many hours doubled over in pain, always after sharing meals with them. It hadn't always been like this. When I first met James at a friend's wedding in Nashville 3 years ago, he was charming and attentive. Nina seemed welcoming too, inviting me to family gatherings and offering to help plan our wedding. Looking back, I should have noticed the red flags, the way she'd accidentally spill things on my dress at important events, or how my food always seemed to have extra seasoning when she helped cook. The incidents started small, an upset stomach here, a mild allergic reaction there. James always had an excuse ready. Maybe it was something you ate earlier. You must be coming down with something. But the pattern was becoming clear. The worst was 2 months ago, when I ended up hospitalized after eating breakfast at their house. The doctors found traces of something in my system they couldn't identify, but James convinced everyone I must have taken expired medication. I gripped the door frame, watching as Nina took another sip. James was typing on his phone, seemingly unconcerned. My own untouched cup sat cold on the table where I'd left it. Then I noticed it, a slight tremor in Nina's hand. She set the cup down, her face suddenly pale. "James," she said, her voice shaking. "Something's wrong." James looked up, his expression shifting from confusion to horror. As he realized which cup she was drinking from, he jumped up, knocking over his chair. "Nina, what's happening?" Her hands trembled violently. I feel," she tried to stand but stumbled, grabbing the table for support. "James, what did you put in that coffee?" I stepped out of the study, my phone already recording. James knelt beside her, his face ashen. "That wasn't supposed to be your cup," he whispered, but in the sudden silence, his words carried clearly. Nina's eyes widened with realization and fear. "Call an ambulance," she gasped, sliding to the floor. "Please." I dialed 911 immediately, my hand steady despite the chaos. Nina's body shook violently as James hovered beside her in panic. As I spoke to the dispatcher, Nina's eyes locked onto mine. The cold calculation I knew so well was gone, replaced by raw fear. "You switched," she gasped. "You knew." The sirens grew louder outside. In her distress, Nina snapped at James, anger overtaking fear. "This is your fault. You said it would just make her sick enough to miss the board meeting next week. You promised it wouldn't be traced." My blood ran cold. The board meeting. The one where I was scheduled to present my proposal for a major client account. The same account Nina had been trying to land for months at her competing firm. Everything clicked. "The tea last month," I said steadily. "And the breakfast 2 months ago. Those weren't accidents, were they?" Between gasps, Nina confessed. "The tea was meant to keep me home during a presentation. When it didn't work, they escalated. Paramedics rushed in, loading Nina onto a stretcher. I sent the recording to my lawyer. At the hospital, toxicology reports confirmed deliberate poisoning. Recordings, texts, and stolen pharmaceutical compounds revealed months of calculated attempts to make me sick, each dose stronger than the last. James and Nina were arrested. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The evidence was overwhelming. Detailed notes recorded. Conversations, expert testimony confirming intent. What struck me most was how small they looked, how jealousy and greed had twisted them into something unrecognizable. They were found guilty on multiple counts, including attempted murder and conspiracy. 1 year later, I stood at the podium of the Nashville Business Leaders Conference, preparing to give the keynote address. The Henderson account Nina had tried so desperately to steal had launched my career even further. As I looked out at the audience, I understood something clearly. Success isn't just about talent or hard work. Sometimes it's about surviving what was meant to destroy you and standing anyway.